So thank you guys for tuning in to West Wednesday. This is week 531. So that's a very long time to be fighting for anything. And I'm just excited that we're back in the street. And yeah, just really happy about that. But just diving into West Wednesday, a lot has been going on. And first I want to talk about my brother real quick in case someone's listening and they don't know who Tyrone West is. My brother was executed on July the 18th, 2013 by 17 killer cops. And since then, we've been fighting for accountability. And these are repeat violent offenders. And I just saw the news, and that's what sparked something in me because they have no problem showing the repeat violent offenders that does same community people. And I'm praying for that they capture the animal that murdered that young lady. Like that was devastating, heartbreaking. But it's the same that we don't know the dangers of people, and they just keep letting repeat violent offenders back on the street. And that's the same exact thing with these killer cops. We don't know the dangers until one of them pull us over, and then now our life is in their hands, and that's ridiculous. And tonight I have my sister Nicole out here, and recently Anthony Anderson was Monday, and it's just that they came up on the 11 year commemoration. And this is heartbreaking because I always told everybody that he was killed a year before my brother was killed. And I remember doing my first interview with the news, and they wanted to interview me, and I brought his wife and my brother Mark. He's not here today, her husband, but I let them literally do an interview before me because I'm like, and it's sad with the media, they always want to talk about the latest news, like what was going on. But they didn't care nothing about my brother. They just trying to make these things seem like they're isolated. But it was the reason why I put them in front of me. Because unfortunately, their loved one was snatched before my loved one was snatched. So it's very important to all of us speak and I heard them speak about what happened to them and did not be speak. So definitely did that. So there's a lot going on. And just a shout out to everybody that's been attending the Warley the Pony Show because I think we did really good with that. So just really excited about that. And yeah, and we have another healing coming up on October the 2nd. I think everybody should be at that hearing on October the 2nd. That's where he's going to be in front of all the council people. So it's very important. And it's just saying that everybody just kept saying, oh, yeah, we know that you're not doing right. And this, but we're going to say, yeah, like, how you going to say yeah to all the stuff that's going on wrong? Like, they can admit that, okay, you failed Brooklyn Home Park. You failed this. You failed the West family. You failed many families. But we're still going to give you a yes. No, that's the problem. We keep giving people causes to do things that we know are right. That is called insanity. Like, that is insane. Like, how you going to keep them respecting a different result and we're putting someone in that failed us? Numerous times. So what you expect at the end of the day when you constantly keep on going? It's a part of what you're doing. So I said all to say we just gotta hold tight and keep doing what's right. Like literally, and I'm just praying for all the families that I'm going to meet and embrace. Just going on a trip, and unfortunately, this is a club nobody signed up to. I'm going to be in Long Beach with a bunch of families that have lost their loved ones. And it's just sad. So y'all going to keep us in prayer. Because it's sad at the same time you trying to have like that healing space, but then at the same time embracing that type of pain of saying that it's just not your loved ones that just heartbreaking. And then to hear us kind of testify. But the thing I love about Uncle Bobby and his wife, R.B., they try to make that space for us to stay really enjoy ourselves. The best way that we can. They always say very much about positive vibes to the table. So that's what we plan on bringing in these hard times. I definitely need positive vibes right now. So, but I'm gonna give that mic over to my sister. Can you stay? You want to sit down the top of the mic? All right, mic check.
Mic check.
How y'all doing this evening? I'm Nicole Pettiford. I am the daughter-in-law of Anthony Anderson, and I am the mother of Ajay Haran. Anthony Anderson
was brutally murdered by the Baltimore City Police Department in 2012 on September the 21st. I'm sorry. And then on October the 7th, my daughter was set up by the Baltimore City Police Department and they murdered her. She was only 16 years old. And like my queen said, September the 21st made 11 years exactly that they took my father-in-law away from me. I never got the opportunity to meet him personally, but I have been out here all these years fighting for accountability for his murder. And I think that if he's looking down from heaven right now, he's proud of me because he's like, my daughter-in-law, although she never met me, you know, she's out here, messed up foot and everything, trying to get to the accountability that he deserves and Tyrone West deserves and everyone else that has gone through this. This is sick, it's wrong, and it's disgusting. And the most hurtful part about the whole situation is y'all did what y'all did to our loved ones, and y'all go home to your families every night. You get to hug your loved ones again. You get to say goodnight. You get to tell your kids a bedtime story, you know. But for us, it's the constant pain and reminder of what happened to our loved ones that's just so sick. You know, we will never get the opportunity to make new memories. We only have the old memories that we were left with that we have to hang on to. And like my queen said, you know, we have been put into a family that nobody asked to be a part of. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that I met Tawanda because she made it possible to give my father-in-law and my daughter a voice again. Because as long as there's breath in my body, I will never let their names die. I will always come out here and represent anyone and everyone who has lost a loved one through police brutality or even street violence. And it's sad because I've been on both sides of the street, you know, police brutality with my father-in-law and street violence with my daughter because they rendered her as a snitch. And what do you do with a snitch? You get rid of it. I would have had rather you had beat her up or something like that, not take her life. She didn't get the opportunity to see what she could become or to try to right some of the wrongs in her life. Whereas though a lot of us, we've done things in our lives that if God didn't know, we wouldn't even tell him. But we got the opportunity to say, you know, we made this mistake. Let's correct it. And a 16-year-old child should not have lost her life behind something that they thought she knew. You know, nobody really knows the whole story. You know how they say the streets talk. You get bits and pieces here and there about what happened and what could have possibly happened and stuff. And me personally, I'm a realist and I keep it real. I just look at the situation as far as her losing her life. What did that prove? Did that stop anything, whatever the situation was, from happening? Did it correct the mistake that happened that made y'all feel as though that it was a good idea to take her life? No, it didn't do anything but affect other people, because when you do things, it don't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Now she has siblings and she has her mother and her father that will be constantly mourning her for the rest of their lives until they die. And it's sick. And you know, sometimes I can't even sleep at night because I wake up out of my sleep and I'm crying and I'm just so hurt behind what I've had to endure. No parent should have to bury their children. She was supposed to bury me. And I'm standing out here talking about my child in the past tense, you know, because she's no longer here. And I have to constantly come out here on these streets and go to these rallies and meet different people and constantly tell this sick and disgusting story over and over again about what happened to my child. And then I have to try to be strong. And I got to try to keep my head up because I know for a fact that she wouldn't want me saying. I know she wouldn't. She wouldn't want me to go on with my life and do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do to try to make this world better. But I am not going to stop until we get accountability. Until the day I die. If I am here for the next 30 years and I don't have accountability for my loved ones and the loved ones of the people that I know, like Tawanda and everything, I'm going to be out here for the next 30 years. I don't care. This makes absolutely no sense. And nobody really cares until it happens to you. We sit here every day, we watch the news, and we go, oh, that is so sad. But it is nothing worse than when it's really in your backyard and you have to endure that pain and that hurt and that sickness that I go through, and all of us that are out here who have lost their loved ones to police brutality or street violence have to endure. And I'm just here to say that I pray with everything in me that nobody else has to go through this, because it's not fun. It really isn't. On October the 7th, it'll make 11 years for my daughter. You know, they were like 2 weeks apart. So my husband didn't even really get to mourn his father before I had to push him up off of my shoulder because I needed his, because my daughter was gone. And this man, he doesn't come to West Wednesday often because it's so painful for him. But I stand here and I represent him and his family and my family, and I will continue to do that because he's my backbone and I'm his backbone. And no matter what, I'm always going to have his back, and I'm always going to stand on the fact that we need accountability for our loved ones, because this is wrong and it doesn't make any sense. And how would you feel if this happened to you? And as angry as I am, and as angry as I will always be, I still wish better for them and their families than what you gave to us and ours. Mike check.
Mike check.
Yeah. Definitely sorry, my queen, that you experiencing this, but at the same time, I'm glad I met you. Unfortunately, under the wrong circumstances, but definitely glad I met you. And not only I'm glad I got her, I'm glad I met my whole entire family. You guys, all my family, like. You guys are the reason that I'm able to come out here for the past 10 years. Like, you guys always say, even if y'all don't come, I will come out here by myself. But it makes a big difference when you know that you're not by yourself. That you know that you got a family that during the struggle you can call on for anything. Like all the crazy stuff that happens in life, you don't know what's promised. You don't know what you might wake up to. But just to wake up to knowing that I have a family, y'all more than a coalition, we are family. Like I love you guys, and I'm gonna give y'all flowers while y'all right here. Like this is love. Like so, just wanted to tell y'all, just keep on loving. The next week, unfortunately, I'm gonna be in Atlanta to go get my nephew, so I'm gonna be doing a West Ramsey online. So make sure you tune in, cause hopefully you'll see his face. Don't let him talk. Yeah, this has been a nightmare, and it made me really realize, like, it is sad that we as human beings have to go into certain sections of life to understand what people go through in life. Like, I know, like, being a mother and having children, and what it feels like if you don't see your child for like 2 seconds, you think they're missing, your whole life stops. But to actually go through that agonizing pain, and me, when he went to Atlanta, Georgia, and he just like disappeared, and it was off the radar, that was torture. I mean, I feel for anybody that has a missing loved one. That's beyond a nightmare because you don't know if they're dead or alive. You can't eat, you can't sleep. It's treacherous. And I felt all of that. Then I also too got a chance to embrace how people become homeless because sometimes we can look at people and judge them from afar and just like have all these opinions about stories. You never even know their story. You never know if they rolled into a different city that they knew nothing about, then they would suffer from a mental health crisis and their car got towed away. And then now they're faced to be in a whole other city by themselves, wrong, no identity, nothing, and no one cares. And the saddest part, the state in which they're in operates as the system. It don't give a damn about none of us. This stuff has been torturous, and it's sad that I'm glad that my nephew wound up in a jail cell, and that's horrible. But at least I know, thank God, there was something petty. He's not outside sleeping. He's he's okay. And I can't even say he's safe from that because it's like bittersweet. Because I think about Sandra Bland, and then I think about people that they kill in jail that they don't care about. You know what I mean? But it's the same. But at the same time, I'm just glad that I'm able to talk to him, and I'm glad that I'm able to be able to go and get him next week. I don't care what it takes. Next week, he's coming home. He's coming home. So I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that has been donating and was spreading the word and praying and keeping it thoughts. Thank you guys so much. And I can't wait to bring him home and he be able to physically tell you guys thank you. Even going, and it's crazy because even now with him being there, I've been calling every day for a nurse. Bill can bear witness. He called down there with me. He even called. Nurse still ain't called me back. It's hope they don't want to give him this medication. But you saying, oh, he's kind of acting out a little bit. Well, give him his medication. Let me talk to the nurse. Let's alleviate this problem. But it's just so sad. Even the day when I talked to him, he said, Auntie, it's no way. It made me cry. He said, Auntie, it's nowhere in this world that a black man is safe. And I felt all that pain. I felt all of because he's crying out for help, and they won't even give it to him. And it's not even just help. He represents a whole lot of people suffering from mental illness that people just overlook. And it just, as long as your life going right, they overlook people that suffer from mental health issues. And then I just thank God that even during his crisis, that killer cops that come to that scene, because they're not trained to deal with that kind of stuff. Normally, thank God he wasn't acting out to the point that they felt like, oh, I fear from all life foolishness. The only thing he was doing was fussing at a Mercedes dealership because he thought his car was there because he drove into town in a car, his Mercedes Benz, and he took it away. And now it's so ridiculous. His car is like $1,500 now. And I still gotta make it to next week. They keep doing things. I got legal line paperwork and I can't even get an attorney to present it for me. It says I have dual power of attorney over his tangible items, bank accounts, everything. And I sent the people the paper and they're like, no, we just want to keep running up the tab. We want to get to the point where we can auction off his car. That is ridiculous. This is a capitalist system that doesn't care about anyone. And it's sad. That's what we say. But just us fighting together, sticking together, that's the goodness and grace that I love. I love last week when we went on Hopkins grounds and we embraced the students and just people, the audience was it was so epic to me because there are people that actually cared, that were sitting down talking about policing and policies and different things. And those type of conversations I love having because they're well needed. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to them and just give a big shout out to yourself. So now I open the mic if anybody else want to say anything before we actually go into the sadness. Mic check.
Mic check. I don't want to stand too close to the pole. I just wanted to follow up on one of the names that we read on one of the lists last month. And I remember the name because there's this British comedian who's trans that his name is Eddie Izzard. And this young man's name reminded me of that person, which is why the name stuck in my head, because my brain works real weird. So on August 14th, Eddie Irizarry, 27-year-old, was in his vehicle in Philadelphia, and the police claim he was driving erratically and made an abrupt turn. Does this sound familiar? So as they got out of the car with their weapons drawn, and he didn't even get to roll down his window or anything. He was locked in his car, the window was closed, and Officer Mark Dial shot him through the closed window. Jeez. So they initially lied, of course, because that's what cops do. And they claim first he had a gun, and then they claim, no, he had a knife and he was outside the car lunging at us, but the dumbasses had body cams on. And the body cam footage, of course, contradicted their whole why. So he was put on administrative leave at first, and then he was incarcerated because the Philadelphia PA is what they claim is like progressive. So he was locked up and wasn't given bail. And so he initially lied and said Eddie was out of the vehicle lunging at him with a knife, but was contradicted by camera footage. So yesterday, he went in front of Judge Wendy Pugh. Shame on this judge.
Shame.
She heard the testimony. She saw the body cam footage. Now, this is why cops opt for judge-led trials and not jury trials, because the judges are all on the tape. The judges are all corrupt. So she hears all of this testimony. She sees the body cam footage and dismisses the charges against him.
Shame.
And he was let out yesterday. So then there was a protest of about 100 people of Eddie's family members out in front of City Hall. And today, the DA reinstated and refiled the charges against Mark Dial. It was like various like manslaughter and like I don't know what degree murder charges, but he was fired September 18th, which wasn't that long ago. So I mean, obviously his boss thought there was enough evidence to fire him for excessive force. And but this judge, Wendy Pugh, shame. So that's why I just wanted to bring it up because I remembered this young man's name, and that it happened in Philadelphia, but I didn't know, the circumstances. I just knew he was shot in his automobile because they put that on the Fatal Force site when that happens, and I remember pointing it out. Like there were several in that list of people who were shot in their vehicles. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up is, the Worley confirmation hearing is in front of the full city council Monday, this coming Monday, October 2nd at 5 p.m., again, the 4th floor of City Hall. What happened last Thursday was just the committee hearing to pass him out of committee to go in front of the full city council. And I don't know if anyone's seen any of the BAL footage, but when they passed him through, we all just got up and started chanting, shame, shame, and Worley doesn't deserve to serve because it's the truth. And then, he is out here yesterday giving gory details of the murder of the entrepreneur. He was giving details, and like who does that? Because this guy can potentially get off because of him doing that in public. Like, it's an active investigation. Like, use your brain. You're supposedly on the force for 25 freaking years, yet you don't know how to talk about a case without revealing gory details. It's just ridiculous. So please, anybody within hearing distance, viewing distance, if you can get down to City Hall on Monday at 5 p.m., it goes in front of the full council, and if they confirm him, he's who we're stuck with and who we have to harass out of office.
Are we allowed to speak at that hearing?
Yeah, we are allowed to speak at that hearing. So, show up early again, and, we kind of bullied our way in because they were letting older politicians who are retired in to sign up to testify, and they made us wait outside, and they were like, no, you can't go in until 4:45, and then 4:40, and then I pushed it until he got down to 4:30. And when we got up there, Shorty said the whole list was filled with names of people who weren't even in the room. Ivan Spate's name was on there, and he wasn't even in the room. Somebody else signed him up, so then we started signing other people up that weren't there. We were like, okay, if that's how y'all roll, that's how we're gonna roll. But show up, give testimony. I felt like our testimony was really powerful, and I think it was just like, a procedural thing they were doing, like, let's just get him out of committee so then, it can go in front of the full city council. I do know of at least 2 city council members that aren't thrilled with him, but that's not enough to have him not confirmed. But we really truly need him to not be confirmed, because they need to just go through the process, and they need to make sure that they vet the next person. You know, Brandon went out of state to vet Fitzgerald when he was put up, and he didn't get the job. So, I mean, Morley is right here in Baltimore City, Maryland. Why couldn't Brandon Scott vet him? Why didn't he talk to us? Why didn't he talk to people in the Northeast District that were affected by these thug cops running amok for years, terrorizing people? Why didn't they go to all the districts that he's worked in to see what kind of record he had with the citizens there? Not the politician licking his boots, not, you know, some politician that got up. Who is that? Stokes? Stokes gets up and said, well, I don't know him, but I'm going to support him. Like, really? Well, we do know him. And we know he's a piece of garbage. And he does not need to be the head of the Baltimore City Police. And outside of abolishing their asses, like, we need to make sure that we have somebody at the helm that is going to be for the people. And he ain't for the people. And it seems now like Brandon ain't for the people and city council ain't for the people if they're going to push this man through. But just go down there, sign up for testimony. That hearing was 3.5 hours long, and they were only anticipating it be 2 hours last week. So, and they let us talk as long as we wanted, which was nice. Because usually they try and clock you with 2 minutes, and you can't say shit in 2 minutes. So Monday, October 2nd, 5 p.m., City Hall, 4th floor, where we were last Thursday. Mic check.
Mic check.
So, yeah, so definitely show up and show out. And then I also wanted to say, too, not only did like the West Coalition members, it was a bunch of community people that was totally against war. Like, coming up, speaking out, saying, hey, no, we don't feel this, we feel this type of way, we don't think you can handle it, asking all the questions and all that. And they didn't listen to the input of us. Like, literally saying the whole time, and hopefully all the community people are saying, no, y'all rushing this job. And y'all still rushing it. That's because y'all already know what y'all wanted to do already. Y'all didn't even want our opinions of the Doug and Pony show. And that's why I call it that. They're acting like our input means something. But meanwhile, it's almost the same if we were a dysfunctional family. And me and Dad sat there, we already know we're not letting kids go to Chuck E. Cheese. We already made that decision before our children came to the world. We say, you know what? I'm not taking them to Chuck E. Cheese this week. And he goes, I ain't taking them either. Well, that's why I'm going to ask their opinion on about one, and they tell us all this stuff. Well, Mommy, I want to go. I want to see Chuck E. Cheese. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, yeah, but unfortunately, we're not going to go. Because I already knew we weren't going to go. And that's just how the Doug and Pony show goes. It's the meeting before the meeting. They had a meeting on what they're going to do, what they're not going to do, but then they need community input so that way they can just make themselves look good like they're listening to the community when they're not. They should have just been them against, and it's sad because it's that line, them against us, and it shouldn't be like that. If they're trying to build relationships with us, it should be everybody at the table, and we can build a relationship, start with being transparent, being honest, and really listening to us. That's where trust lies, and they wonder why we don't trust them. They wonder why we don't trust the process. So, just wanted to give the mic to anybody that want to say anything before we go into the sad list. Mic check.
Mic check.
Can't stop, won't stop, till killer cops are in cell blocks. Can't stop, won't stop, till killer cops are in cell blocks. Till killer cops are in cell blocks. So I apologize, I didn't learn this material really well. I'm going to have to look at the paper. I'm on page 4 in the new challenge. And racism and police brutality are, racism is the #1 problem under capitalism as far as I'm concerned. And police brutality is one of the main aspects of it. And I want to talk about, it takes some unusual turns. So I want to mention this case. So in a town called Oak Lawn, Illinois, there's a fairly sizable Arab population, as there is in Detroit and that general area of the Midwest. So there was a case where there's two young men. There's Murad and there is, oh my goodness, Murad and Hadi. One of them was run over and killed by a drunk driver a while ago. The cop then takes this driver and doesn't press charges and lets the driver go because the person that was run over and killed was a Muslim person and they didn't value that life. And then one of the same cops that was involved with that case severely beat this other young man whose name I just mentioned. And the mother of the one that was run over and killed and nothing was done to the driver, she went into the police station with a whole lot of supporters to tell her side of the story and how wrong that was. And they wouldn't even let her finish speaking. They threw everybody out of the police station. So this article's on page 4, and it reflects something that's important internationally too, which is that the U.S. builds an awful lot of anti-Muslim racism, not only to justify police brutality, but to justify war. So when the U.S. was fighting the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, they had this very sick racist culture in the U.S. military where they would call people who are Muslims terrible names like ragheads and so on. Many years before, during the Vietnam War, they tried to dehumanize the Vietnamese and they called them a racist term also called gooks. And we're in a situation now where Iran and Russia and China are more or less allied with one another. And we're headed, unfortunately, towards World War and perhaps World War III. And the U.S. is going to be using, in all likelihood, more and more racism against Muslim people. And we have to reject that as we have to reject their upcoming war. So that's what I wanted to say tonight. The last thing is, if you check your email, most of you should have one of the fundraising appeals to help Tawana go down to Atlanta and rescue her nephew. Hopefully that goes well. And if you could share that with friends and family and coworkers and get it around broadly and raise the money that we need to pull that off. All right, Mike, check.
Mike, check.
Thank you, Uncle Bill, for that. And thank everybody that spoke. Anybody else want to speak? So, real quick, I just wanted to bring up something that Adina, and I'm glad that she pointed out, and she went back to one of the cases. Because normally we hear about all the cases that we bring week after week, but it's something about my beautiful sister. She'll always remember somebody or something very important, and she'll bring it back up. And I think that's so beautiful for her. Like, her soul is beautiful, not only on the inside, but it shows on the outside as well. So I want to thank her for that. But my point of saying and talking about it is, we have to understand that the politicians as well as these cops, they're all in the bed together. And that's why we can't get accountability. And like she said, that is why they pick judges instead of the jury. Because they know that certain people that they know them and it's going to get them off. And just like in the case of my brother, I like to point out, Ruiz, one of the first killers, Arthur Ruiz, he is married to the state prosecutor, Michelle Barrett. This is why we cannot get any type of accountability. This is why it keeps bouncing back from the state's attorney's office. You know, and that's sad. Like, they need to get off the bed with each other, but even if they had that type of relationship, why do we have to suffer? Why? I feel as though we should have like people that's operative that can see all this foolishness and really do something. It shouldn't be a judge that can just, you see, like, he lied or literally lied about murder, like killing somebody. People, she wouldn't let the average citizen out there. If they're saying, oh, I defended myself because blah, 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 and you see, they put a ring at video footage of somebody, a neighbor's house, and they see, well, hold up, you made that whole scenario up. That person was still in the car. Why did you shoot them up? It would be an open the book shut case. They would have threw the whole maximum sentence at them. But why do these killer cops keep getting off? Because they're all in the bed together. And that's what we need to know and acknowledge, and it's unfortunately, we have to keep on speaking our truth and let them know this is unacceptable. Just because they're laying in bed together, we shouldn't have to suffer from that. And it's just sad. And that's exactly like Adina said, why they keep on picking these jury, not a jury, but these judges to get the freedom. Everybody's in the bed together. It's sad, but again, I brought that out to show you that the first Killer Ruiz, a repeat violent offender, that had people leading up to my brother getting murdered, that nothing ever got dealt with for anything, and he's a sergeant now. He's sleeping with Michelle Battle as his wife. She's in the state prosecutor's office. And that is disgusting. So I just wanted to share that with you before we go into the sad list. So one more time, do anybody want to share or say anything? All right, so I'm going to read our disclaimer that we can move on. And thank you guys for your time. And I was so tired today, I almost canceled. I ain't gonna lie, I almost said, well, let's go online. But then, thank God to my sister Dina, like, I want to go outside. And I'm like, I do too. Let me take a nap. And she came and got me. So I'm like, gosh, I'm gone. But I would have missed all this beautifulness, right? Because it's not the same effect online. I'm sorry, it's not. So I'm so glad that I didn't cancel out at the last minute. All right, so, okay. Sorry, okay. It is our mission of the West Coalition to work for accountability for Tyrone West and all the victims of police brutality. We believe that there is a connection between police brutality and community violence. Police can use de-escalation strategies to defuse situations without necessarily using force. And we encourage community members to resolve disputes without violence. We care deeply about those families impacted by police brutality and community violence. We seek to uplift the names of our loved ones from a place of respect and care. We obtain lists of names of those shot and killed by police and those lost to community violence from a national and local news outlets. We know that these are not by means exhaustive lists, and that gun violence isn't the only way people are murdered. We do not obtain detailed information about the circumstances surrounding each of these deaths or the people who died. By reading these names, we are not condoning violent behaviors on the part of anyone involved in the situation. So at this moment, the time now is 7:48. Let's take 2 minutes and we'll come back at 7:50 and take it from there. Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank you guys so much. I'm going to bring our Brother Brian up to read the community violence list. Thank you, Brother Brian. Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank you. So, we just do this every week. We have to name people who died by violence here in Baltimore. We do stuff with their lives and to show our solidarity with their families and friends and loved ones, and to remind ourselves of what it is that we've dedicated ourselves to. So if you just might check their names back to me, that would be what we do. Reginald White,
Reginald White.
Davon Jones,
Davon Jones.
Jalen Wise,
Jalen Wise.
Hava Marie LaPierre,
Hava Marie LaPierre.
Rashid Maxwell.
Rashid Maxwell.
Thank you.
So now it's time for the police brutality relay.
Bill?
They've only updated with, one day and one name. That was on, September 23rd. Forgive me because this was in, a 30-year-old man in Kia'au, Hawaii. I know they pronounce all the vowels, so let this big truck pass. Okay, September 23rd, 30-year-old Ka'ina Ka'ohu.
Kaina Kau.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So now we're wrapping up March Monday. Thank you guys so much. Remember March Monday on your date, Monday on your calendar. You can show the city hall. What is it? 4 o'clock. It starts at 4. 5. It starts at 5. But you can get down there early. I urge you to get down there early. But see you guys on Monday. And then yeah. So again, give us if you pray for our safe travel. Because me and Nicole, we're about to be ready to head out. And we need the rest of the family, so keep us in prayer as we go to Long Beach for accountability to our loved ones, just to testify and kind of great job in a healthy state. And then we'll be back next week. And please pray that everything goes well with my fundraiser so that way I can please bring my nephew home. Like, this is torturous. So, again, thank you guys for everything. Live to love, love to live. I love you all. Bye, Chuck.
Mike check.